What's going on, folks? Ted from Immersion here, and if you are looking for crafting or have crafting questions for D&D 5e 2024, this is the video for you. We're going to cover mundane crafting and magical crafting, and we'll take a little trip back to 2014 to see what we had originally and see where we've ended up here now. Before we dive into that, though, I wanted to get your opinion on something, kind of get a little gauge on how you feel about this. I did just get my copy of the Kobold Press Tales of the Valiant Game Master Guide in yesterday, and that reminded me that I still have Player's Handbook content that I want to make, but I do want to make good on the promise I said where I was going to compare 2024 Dungeons & Dragons to Tales of the Valiant to let you know, kind of get an idea of what your thoughts are and where you want to land, maybe when you're trying to figure out what kind of stuff you want to run, since they're both based off of 5e. And then again, now that I have the Game Master's Guide, I can compare that to the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide, and we can see maybe which one we like there as well. The problem is that's a lot of content, and it needs to roll out relatively quickly to be relevant. And I have this weird thing where if I'm making a ton of content all together and just releasing it consistently, it works in my brain to do that. But when I say, oh, I'm only going to release one video a day, or maybe one video and one short a day, so I don't overload people's feed, I somehow end up missing days that way. So my question to you is, do you mind multiple videos from me a day, whether multiple shorts or multiple long form? And I've done it in the past. I think there was a day I can recall where I released 5 videos in a day one time. But I want to hear your opinion. What are your thoughts? Does it bother you one way or another? Let me know in the comments. All right, let's go ahead and dive into crafting in 2014, though, just to see where we were to get to where we are now. We're going to just kind of touch on this on a high level. So there was a section in the back of the 2014 Player's Handbook in Chapter 8 called Crafting, and it's this paragraph you can see in front of you. Basically, it was kind of shitty. You used to make progress in 5 gold piece amounts per day, and it would take you however long that was at 5 gold a day. So to make a suit of plate armor, it would cost you 1,500 gold pieces, which is the market value. So you're not actually saving anything in the process of crafting it, and it would take you 350 days to craft that plate mail. Now, they do say that multiple characters could work together, and it says each character contributes 5 gold pieces worth of effort. For example, 3 characters with the requisite tool proficiencies and proper facilities can craft a suit of plate armor in 100 days at a total cost of 750 gold pieces. So there you go. It also said something about maintaining a lifestyle, and essentially this was seemed very much like an afterthought, as it's a small paragraph in the back of the Player's Handbook. Now, we did get an update to this in Xanathar's Guide in their Downtime Revisited section, where they adjusted things, showing how to craft resources, magic items, and they developed this concept of a work week. Now, that was primarily for crafting magic items as well, but we'll take a look. It says, in addition to the tools and the items need to be crafted, you need to determine how many work week it takes, divide its gold piece cost by 50. So a character can complete multiple items in a work week if the items combined cost is 50 gold pieces or less. Multiple characters can combine your efforts, divide the time amongst them. Use your judgment when determining how many characters can collaborate. A tiny item like a ring may only allow 1 or 2 workers, where something larger, more complex might allow more. And then it gives you a breakdown, right? Herbalism kit is for antitoxins and potions of healings. Leather working tools for leather, armor, and boots. Smith tools for armors and weapons. And weaver's tools for cloaks and robes. And then it has a little section here about crafting a magic item, and says, it's going to require ingredients from a monster with a challenge rating of something, and it lists it here. It doesn't really give us too much, but it was an attempt at giving us a little bit more. And then again, we have a number of work weeks and an associated cost for crafting a magic item. It also said the character needed to have the tool proficiency or proficiency in Arcana, and then there was rules here for complications in the process. All right, so that's what we had. Now, if we get into Mundane here in 2024, we can see that for crafting equipment, it's pretty simplistic. You need to have the tool associated with whatever you're trying to craft, and that's covered under the tool section, which we'll go back and look at. And you'll need raw materials equal to half the cost of whatever it is. So they say, for example, you'll need 750 gold pieces of raw materials to make plate armor, which sells for 1,500 gold pieces. the DM determines whether appropriate raw materials are available. So that unfortunately falls up to your DM to decide. But for making plate armor, as long as you're not doing anything out of a crazy magical material, which would fall under crafting a magic item anyway, you shouldn't have too much issue. Now, it does say the work days here, but we're back to work days with 8 hours. It takes to make an item, divide its purchase cost in gold pieces by 10, round up, to figure out how many days it takes. So, for example, you need 5 days to make a heavy crossbow because a heavy crossbow sells for 50 gold pieces. So, that plate armor, we're going to take that 1500 divided by 10, 150 days to craft plate mail. It also states here, which I think is an important distinction, those days don't have to be consecutive, right? You might be able to work 5 days, then you got to go off and do a quest, and then come back and work at it again. So you don't have to do everything, in a row. It doesn't have to be a 150-day stint of you crafting. You can break it up as need be. And it once again adds in the rule here that characters can work together to lessen the time. However, it does state that typically it's only one, but if the DM might allow you to do more. So, again, you might be able to cut that down from 150 days to 75 days if you have one additional worker, and then who knows if your DM will allow more. Now, it also has here that just as a special unique case, a base level potion of healing requires an herbalism kit and 25 gold pieces of raw materials, which is half the cost of a healing potion, and 1 day. Now, this is a unique thing to the potion of healing. Other potions have, more traditional crafting rules under the magic item section. We'll talk about that in a minute. But that being said, this is a unique one. And then Scribing Scrolls. This is also unique from the other magic item crafting rules. And this is they basically tell you in the Dungeon Master's Guide, refer to the player's handbook for rules on Scribing Scrolls. So to do so, you're going to need either Arcana proficiency or Calligrapher's tools. You'll need to know the spell you're trying to make the scroll of, and you must have it prepared that day. And if it has material components that are required by the spell, if the spell consumes them, they are consumed when you complete the scroll. And it will use your spell save DC and your attack bonus, whoever is the person doing the crafting. And there's the table you can see here, right? A day for cantrip or first level spell, and then there's obviously increasing days all the way up to 120 days to craft a 9th level spell for 50,000 gold pieces. Now, again, there are rules for consumables crafting in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Again, it states that the Scribe Scroll rules that you're looking at right here from the 2024 Player's Handbook are the end-all, be-all when it comes to making a scroll. Another point of note is that it is only spells of which you can cast. So, Scroll of Titan Summoning that I mentioned in a previous video that lets you summon like a Tarask or something, that's not a spell you can cast. Therefore, you cannot duplicate that scroll. So, it has to be a scroll of a spell that you can cast that you can then duplicate. But what I think is probably one of the most important things is that to craft a first level spell scroll, it takes one singular 8-hour workday and 25 gold pieces provided you have the spell. There are a ton of exceptionally useful first level spells that you should be able to use and are worth doing, right? These are things like Detect Magic, Identify, Cure Wounds even at a first level, or Healing Word given the fact that they're boosted healing in 2024. Or probably the more popular examples that I'm sure are jumping right to the forefront of your mind, Shield and Silvery Barbs. Very powerful to have just freebie burnable uses. And the fact that it only takes a day and 25 gold pieces, if you're in a situation where your DM's like, you got a month of downtime and I don't have anything crazy to do, and I might just be banging out first level shield scrolls and just have a big old bandolier full of scrolls and just be like, nope, I'm Silvery Barbs in every single turn and it ain't costing me anything. I also feel like I personally get stuck in the mindset of thinking of Scribing Scrolls as a purely arcane thing. But again, as long as they have either Calligrapher's tools or Arcana, clerics and druids can scribe scrolls too. I know that's always been a thing. My mindset goes to wizard personally. But yeah, there's no reason you can't just have a fat stack of Goodberry scrolls or Healing Word scrolls. Because again, with the rules in 2024 D&D about how you can only cast one spell with a slot on a turn, reminder that scrolls circumvent that because casting a spell from a scroll is not casting a spell with a slot, therefore allowing you to double cast a spell on a turn. So if you are that cleric or druid that has just that stack of healing word scrolls, you can burn your healing word scroll to get that heal off, which is not using a spell slot, and then still use your whole action to cast a spell. So consider that the power of, even again, the reason I'm bringing up first level spells is it can be done in a day, and more often than not, if you find yourself in a city, you can usually carve out about a good 8 hour period aside from long resting to be able to do this. So I think it's definitely, especially if you're something like an elf where you can bang out a long rest in 4 hours, you definitely can make use of this and have scrolls. So it's definitely worth considering looking into. Now, I mentioned that the crafting of any kind of item requires an associated tool. If we jump up to the tools section, you'll see that under each individual tool, if they have something they can do under the craft section, it will tell you what you are capable of crafting with that particular tool. And it is definitive, and I do appreciate this. So, for example, alchemist supplies lets you craft acid, alchemist fire, a component pouch, oil, paper, or perfume. So again, if you want to craft any of those are in the equipment section of the under the adventuring gear kind of section of the player's handbook. They have a gold piece cost. You can go and look at that, divide that gold piece cost by 10. That's how much time it's going to take for you to craft. And again, then you can go ahead and take whatever that cost is and divide it in half, and that's how much raw materials you have. So if we were to look at, say, I don't know, perfume. Perfume is 5 gold pieces to make. So you could make that in less than a day. That's a bad example because okay, how about a book? I think is there books? Well, anyway, we'll scroll down. Antitoxin, ink, spell scroll. You can see carpenter's tools. Allows you to make certain weapons and things like quarterstaff and great club. If we were to look at a quarterstaff, for example, 2 silver pieces. All right, we need, so some of these can be crafted for very cheap. How about a portable ram? I feel like that might be a good example. Nope, under 4 gold. Oh yeah, you gotta find somebody that can craft a weapon. Oh, how about a spyglass for a glass blower's tools? Okay, spyglass is 1,000 gold pieces. Okay, so if you wanted to craft a spyglass, you would need glass blowing tools proficiency. It would take you 500 gold pieces of raw materials, taking that number, 1,000 gold pieces, dividing it in half. And then you're going to take that 1,000, divide it by 10, and that's the number of days plus that half of the cost, 500 gold pieces of raw materials, which 1,000 divided by 10 is going to be 100. So you're going to have to take 100 days and 500 gold pieces to craft yourself a spyglass. Now, again, if you have a fellow glassblower who can help you, you can cut down the time. With one additional person, you'll knock it down to 50 days. All right, and as we continue to scroll through, you can see, right, cobbler's tools let you make a climber's kit, cook's tools, rations, jeweler's tools, arcane focus, and holy symbol. There's a handful of things that will let you make holy symbols and foci. Right, leatherworking tools, sling. See, there's specifics here, right? Sling, whip, hide armor, studded leather armor, backpack, bolt cases, mapper scroll cases, and so on. Mason's tools let you make a block and tackle. Painter's druid focus or holy symbol. Potter's tools, jug or a lamp. Smith's tools, any melee weapon except a club, great club, quarterstaff, and whip. Medium armor except for hide, and then heavy armor as well as a handful of other things. Iron pot, sling bullets. Tinker's tools let you craft a musket and a pistol, as well as a handful of other unique things. Weaver's tools, padded armor, basket, so again, Weaver's tools will let you make armor. There's padded armor. And then woodcarver's tools, right? Club, great club, quarterstaff. Ranged weapons, except for pistol, musket, and sling. Pen, needles, etc. And then again, some of these don't necessarily have stuff except for the herbalism kit, which does allow you to craft antitoxin, candle, healer's kit, and a potion of healing. And then poisoner's kit lets you make basic potions. So I think I've done a good job of explaining how mundane crafting works, right? You're going to take whatever the gold piece cost of whatever it is you're trying to craft, divide it in half. You need that much in raw materials. You have to check with your DM to see if that's available to you wherever your character is currently located, and then take the gold piece value of it, divide it by 10, and that's the number of days it will take you to work on making it. Again, exceptions to these would be Scribing Scrolls, which have their own rules, and Scribing Potions of Healing, which have their own rules. But again, Herbalism Kit, Arcana, or Calligrapher's tools will allow you to churn out first level scrolls or potions of healing in a singular day, so it's worth considering. Okay, we've covered mundane crafting. Let's shift to magical crafting. So, taking a look back at 2014's magical crafting, it had basically ask your DM because you're going to need some sort of a formula. We don't give you anything to know what the formula is, but we do tell you that there's a minimum level for you to be able to craft them. That's gone now, but anyway, it was here. And then there was a gold piece cost associated with them, 100, 500, 5,000, 50,000, 500,000 for a legendary item. Now for this, you made progress in 25 gold piece increments as opposed to 5 from back in 2014. So it says the character is assumed to work for 8 hours on each of these days, thus creating an uncommon magic item takes 20 days and 500 gold pieces. It is funny that you could craft an uncommon magic item faster than you could craft a spyglass or a suit of plate mail. But either way. So that kind of covers what we had in 2014. Let's go ahead and talk about 2024 magic item crafting. So in a similar fashion to what we talked about mundane crafting, you will need Arcana is a requirement no matter what to make a magic item in 2024. So if you don't have proficiency in Arcana, you are not crafting magic items, period. In addition to Arcana proficiency, another little step to make intelligence and Arcana. Now, there is no check associated with it, so I should point that out. You just have to have the proficiency. You need to also have proficiency in the associated tool that corresponds to the magic item that you're crafting, and I'll talk about that here in just a sec. It is also worth pointing out that all 2024 backgrounds grant you at least one tool proficiency. Now, again, older backgrounds had the option for like languages or tools, or a combination of a language and a tool. In 2024 D&D, all of the 2024 backgrounds grant you at least one tool proficiency, no matter what, besides anything that your species or class may grant you. So I'm wondering if this is part of the reason why, to be like, well, we want to have the option to have a little bit better improved crafting, so we'll make sure that everybody has access to at least one tool. Again, the background, it's not like a choice, it's a static tool, so consider that, but either way. So, on top of Arcana proficiency, to craft a magic item, you'll need the following based on the category. If you're trying to craft magic armor, that's going to depend, obviously, as we talked about, on the armor, either leatherworking tools, smith's tools, or weaver's tools based on the type of armor. If you're trying to craft a potion, that will be either alchemist supplies or herbalism kit. So again, herbalism kit seems to be specifically for potions of healing, but other potions beyond just a base potion of healing is alchemist supplies or herbalism kit. To craft a ring, it's jeweler's tools. To craft a rod, it's woodcarver's tools. Scrolls, as we've already discussed, is calligrapher's supplies. Staff and wand are also woodcarver's tools. And weapon, it's dependent on the type of weapon. It's either leatherworker's tools, smith's tools, or woodcarver's tools. And wondrous items are either tinker's tools or whatever tool is associated with crafting the non-magical version of the thing you're looking for. For example, we saw like painter's supplies as an option to make a holy symbol. So if you're crafting a magical holy symbol, you could in theory do that with Arcana and painter's supplies. So honestly, one of the best bang for your bucks is going to be woodcarver's tools when it comes to magic item crafting, because woodcarver's tools will allow you to craft rod, staff, wand, and certain weapons that are crafted using woodcarver's tools. Another unique thing to crafting magic items, if the magic item lets you cast a spell, whether this is, say, let's say a wand of fireballs, right? It allows you to cast fireball. You need to have fireball as a spell that you either know or have prepared that day, and need to have it prepared for every day that you are crafting. As we've discussed, it's an 8-hour day, and it does not have to be consecutive, But the day that you are spending crafting, you need to have that spell prepared. So, wizards traditionally are not going to be crafting magic items that let them cast Cure Wounds because they typically don't have access to Cure Wounds. Now, again, if you have it through some other weird feature, then go ahead, but just to make that clear. Now, time and cost. It follows very similar to what we talked about with mundane crafting. There are rules in the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide about buying magic items, and they do have a cost. I'll read you those costs right now. So, common through legendary, right? It goes 100 gold pieces, 400 gold pieces for uncommon, 4,000 for rare, 40,000 for very rare, and 200,000 for legendary. It does also state when you're buying a magic item that if you're buying a magic item like say +1 plate mail, which is a rare rarity, it's 1,500 gold pieces to buy the plate armor, and then 4,000 gold pieces for the rarity. Therefore, a piece of +1 plate mail is 5,500 gold pieces. Now, I do also think that this works pretty well for trying to get an idea for how enchantments would work. So if you already have existing plate mail from one source or another, and you wanted to enchant it to rare level, you would just say, okay, 4,000 gold pieces. That's basically how it would be to buy it. So that's a pretty reasonable way to work if you want to add like an enchanter shop or an enchanter in your game that will boost or infuse magical items. So now let's talk about crafting a magic item. First thing, it's going to take a number of days based on 8-hour work days. Again, they also don't need to be consecutive. And we're going to take all those costs we just associated with buying magic items of different tiers, cut them in half. That's going to be your raw material cost. So a common magic item is 50 gold pieces, an uncommon magic item is 200 gold pieces, a rare magic item is 2,000 gold pieces, a very rare magic item is 20,000 gold pieces, and a legendary magic item is 100,000 gold pieces. So just those amount it costs to buy it, just cut in half. Now the time is a static number here. It's not like the crafting a mundane magic item where you just take the cost and divide it by 10. Common, it's going to take you 5 days. Uncommon is going to take you 10 days. Rare is going to take you 50 days. Very rare is going to take you 125 days. And legendary magic items are going to take you 250 days to craft. It does also specify that, again, outside of spell scrolls and a base potion of healing, any consumables that you craft, the cost and the time will be cut in half. So again, if you're crafting an uncommon potion, it's going to be normally it would be 10 days and 200 gold pieces. If you're crafting that uncommon consumable potion, cut those in half to be only a 5-day commitment and 100 gold pieces. It does also state, similar to what we saw with the mundane items, you can add assistance to reduce the time, and it functions in a very similar way, right? Divide the time needed to craft it by the number of people working. And again, it also states normally only one person can assist, but based on what you're doing, maybe the DM will allow one or 2 people or maybe more to assist with the creation. Lastly, let's talk about how to determine raw materials. So it says that the DM determines whether raw materials are available, which sounds like that statement should have just been it. But then it goes on to state after that, in a city, there is a 75% chance that the materials are available, and in any other settlement, there is a 25% chance. So it sounds like, I think what it means is the DM's just making that roll, but if you're like, hey, I want to craft an uncommon magic item, and then you're in a city, the DM makes a roll, and if they're within that 75%, yes, you can spend the money on the magical raw materials to craft whatever uncommon magic item you're looking to make. It does also say if you roll in such a way that the materials aren't available, you have to wait at least 7 days in game before you can check for availability again, right? Because people have to come and go, buy and sell, import, export to get new materials in. And then it also goes on to say, as I mentioned, if it has a cost associated with the base item, like 1,500 gold pieces for the plate mail, then that's factored in to the calculation for how long it's going to take to craft, or how much materials it's going to cost, rather. So that is a high level kind of overview. I am a little bummed because if you're looking for more in-depth crafting, we unfortunately just don't have it here, which I know a lot of people, and I'm sure you've experienced it. I talk about it all the time. There's even a famous gif of me on Twitter talking about monster bits. Everybody I know in any campaign I've either ever played or run, when they kill a dragon, the first thing they want to do is skin the dragon and harvest all of its bits, its teeth, its eyes, its heart, whatever. They want to get all of it because they want to do something with it. And unfortunately, we just have nothing to go off of. Now, I'm not saying there aren't a ton of amazing third-party content creators out there who've made monster salvaging rules and all that kind of stuff. But it feels like this would have been a great opportunity. And who knows, maybe we'll get something like that in the monster manual, but I doubt it. Because this would have been a great opportunity. People have been clamoring for this for years for 5e. So I feel like that would have been something I wish we could have gotten heard, that they would have gone ahead and put into this book. Now, maybe the most simplest way, if you want to have your DM incentivize monster bits, my thoughts is like a tiered table where we know that, again, you have to acquire raw materials to craft a magic item, and there's a gold piece amount. Now, your DM also could get very into the minutia on this, whereas I think as written, it's basically like, hey, are there raw materials available, DM? DM says yes. You say, here's 200 gold pieces. I'm now going to start crafting my uncommon magic item. That's, I think, how it's intended to work, rules as written. You, however, as the DM, could determine, yes, it is 200 gold pieces worth of raw materials, but it's 500 pieces of platinum dust, 100 gold pieces of siren tears, and 50 gold pieces of chalk. I don't know, whatever. So then you could add, if you want, an additional level of questing or investment to add immersion, that like, it's not just you throw your magic 200 gold, you just hit delete off your character sheet and it's gone, and then you get that. Some people do that. This is also a similar way people do sometimes with material components, where they're like, it costs a 500 gold piece diamond. Do you have 500 gold pieces? Yes, exchange. Or some people want to go to an actual shop and quest to find the diamond to do the thing. So this could be an opportunity for your DM to add specifics to how much, what the raw materials are made up of based on the type of item you're crafting. But what I think might end up working better is if you were to take monster bits and like put them on like a sliding scale and associate them with a gold piece value. So, like, let's say you wanted to craft a rare magic item and it costs 2,000 gold pieces worth of raw materials. Well, you harvested, all of the skin, let's say, off of a young red dragon. The DM could say, okay, young red dragon skin, call it all of it, 50% of it, whatever it is, equates to, look at their sliding scale, 2,000 gold pieces worth of raw materials for crafting a magic item. Fantastic. I don't need to go to town and spend 2,000 gold pieces. You're allowing me to use the material that I gathered from defeating the monster to equate to a gold piece value that basically negates that part of it. So I can use that fundamentally to craft the thing that I want, and I don't have to spend separate gold for it. And I think that might be the cleanest way to do that. Like I said, there are a ton of people out there who've made monster salvaging rules and how to use those monster bits to make different magic items, but that might be the easiest way for veteran DMs or new DMs, is just decide what the creature is worth based on how many of the pieces they harvest, and then it can be just like that. Okay, with all of the pieces of the purple worm you killed, you've got 5,000 gold pieces worth of raw materials for crafting magic items. And then the party can say, okay, is one person going to craft something? Maybe only one person has the capability to do so. Or are we going to divvy it up and then say, okay, everybody can go make an uncommon magic item in 10 days or whatever it might be? Now, if it were me and I did allow that, which I'm thinking about doing because I think that works pretty well, I would then flavor the magic item that they craft towards the thing that they did. It's still going to do fundamentally what it's supposed to do. So let's say they harvested a wormling, a red dragon wormling, right? And they used it to make a wand of magic missile. They used part of it So because like that, the wormling, they really damaged it pretty bad in the survival check to skin it, and they did some pretty serious heavy damage to it when they were fighting. And all they were able to get was 200 gold pieces worth of raw materials from that red dragon. Then I'd say, okay, that's equivalent for 200 gold pieces worth of raw materials. You can go craft what you want. The guy said, cool, let's go craft a wand of magic missile with the red dragon bits. So, first of all, one, we're obviously going to have this wand have a handle made of red dragon leather, right? It's wrapped in that. So it has an aesthetic piece, maybe the little gem that normally is blue and the art for a wand of magic missile is red. So it's going to fund, you can do it just like that and have it just be flavor, right? Where it just kind of looks cool and it has these draconic aspects to it. And it's still going to function like a wand of magic missile because you should not take away the functionality that they went to craft and create. But maybe you add a little something extra. Maybe the wand of magic missile that you made with the parts of the red dragon not only has the cool flavor of how it looks, but has the unique capability that if you want, you can have it deal fire damage instead of force damage. And that's a pretty simple switch. I mean, more often than not, you're going to want to do force damage because resistances in a metagamey situation, in a min-max situation, but there are some creatures who are weak to fire. So maybe because you crafted this red dragon wormling wand of magic missile, you can now choose when you fire it off to have it do force or fire damage. Or maybe it's a choice per missile, or whatever you want to do. Maybe once per long rest, you can do an extra d4 of fire damage on top of what it normally does. Something like that. Give them some incentive, and then that's so cool because like wand of magic missiles are a dime a dozen. They're everywhere. Everybody's got one if you really want one, depending on the game. And I feel like WotC in their in a lot of their stuff just throw out wands of magic missile that in like almost every adventure you can find one. And listen, I'm not knocking Wand of Magic Missile. I don't love the nerfs they made to it in 2024, but I do enjoy it. So maybe this is an opportunity for you to make that pretty simple, uncommon magic item a little bit more unique to your game specifically because of how the party crafted it. And I would encourage you to think about things like that if you decide to go down this route that we're discussing. So. Anyway, that is a long 30-something minute ramble about magic items and crafting and mundane crafting, but I hope at the end of this video, you're coming out of this with a pretty good understanding of how crafting works in 2024, both magical and mundane, and it'll give you the opportunity to decide, hey, I like this, I want to go forward using this method, I want to use some third-party method or homebrew my own, or who knows. Maybe when we get to the Tales of the Valiant Game Masters guide, their crafting system will knock all of this out of the water, and we'll go with that instead. So let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. I'll see you all next time.